Welcome back to another episode of Wellness Through Reading. I am your host, Tanisha. I like to consider myself the BFF of literature as we go along our reading journey. So today is a good one. It is a versus battle of the death. Okay, that's a lot. But it is a versus battle of which is healthiest for the overall increase of the reader's reading experience. Ooh. Is it the physical book? Reading a physical book? Is it reading it through a Kindle or an e-reader? Or is it reading, or not even reading, but listening to an audiobook? Let's dive in. Before we do, if you're new to the channel, I say thank you and welcome to your first episode. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button so that way you're alerted when new episodes are uploaded. Episodes are uploaded every Wednesday. If you're returning, well, welcome back. I hope you guys had a great week and I'm really excited for today's episode. So what really inspired this episode today was the release of the highly anticipated book Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the sequel to the Iron Flame book. Now this episode, I will not be going into detail about that. I promise you, before this season is over, I will absolutely do a breakdown. But the book just came out, I think last Tuesday. So I want people to read it. Go, get it, read. And that way we can come back and discuss it. If you haven't already, Fourth Wing, my review, has been split into 3 parts. It's also uploaded as well to this podcast. Have a listen to that as well, too. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm so excited for today's episode, but I'm getting sidetracked. The reason why that this that book release inspired me to do this episode because not only do I have that book in the physical format, I have it in the Kindle format. I also bought it in the audiobook format. And as I'm going through and reading, I decided, you know what? One of these versions is one that I really like, but I do like the other experiences as well too. So that's why I wanted to investigate which one of these versions, whether it's buying a physical book, getting the e-reader or a Kindle or some type of digital printing book, or listening to it via audiobook. Which of these options helps to increase the reader's just overall reading experience? Which is the healthiest for us? Which of these options is the least expensive? Which of these options overall just gives us a more just reading euphoria feeling that all bookworms completely understand and relate to? Let's start with the Kindle. The Kindle is a portable e-reader that allows you to carry thousands of books on one device. It's lightweight, easy to hold, making it perfect for reading on the go. Plus, you can adjust the font size, brightness to your liking, making it accessible for just about anyone. Not only that, but with the e-reader / Kindle, there are free books that you can get with this option as well too. If you go to any store, the Kindle store that you got on your reader, Kindle or whatnot, there are thousands of options that you can just pick from. Also, if you're new to this channel, then you'll know that I just love me a good library, and the library has tons of options for Kindles as well too that you can use. You can use the app Libby or Sora, and most libraries, particularly those in the United States, you can use your library card to download those onto your Kindle. Just like with the physical book with the libraries, you may have to wait on the wait list as well too. But even with that, it's also cheaper. Yes, the Kindle of the 3, the Kindle, the physical book, and the audiobook, the Kindle is the cheapest one to actually purchase. Also, they have great features like the dictionary feature where you can put your cursor over a word if you're not familiar with it and the word pops up. And also you can bookmark that as well too. And there's a translator feature as well too. So in case it's in a different language, you can also translate that as well too. And electronic bookmarks. These are really fun. So you can just tap on the top of the screen, no messy pens, no messy ink, so that way it's not bleeding through the book. You can just tap on it and say, hey, remind me, make notes on the side. So that way it's all in one space. If you want to go back and look at a note that you had just made, it's all right there. Very easy, very accessible. Also, like I said, you can adjust the brightness to it as well. For me, on my Kindle that I have, e-Kindle, I can adjust it into dark mode or light mode depending on the time of day, so it doesn't really affect my eyes as much. Also, if you need to read in a larger print with the e-Kindle, you can automatically do that as well too. It's eye sensitive with large print as well too. Also, with Kindles, there's a long battery life. Sometimes you can go up to weeks and not have to recharge them. And one of the best reasons, particularly an environmental reason, it is paperless, so it doesn't harm our environment like the other ones do. But with all things, there are disadvantages. The first disadvantage of a Kindle is that not like a book. Duh. But you can't thumb through it like you do a book. You can't physically turn the page and feel that roughness as well too. It's very much a swiping motion, which some readers may like. Maybe they do like that. Also with two, it's an electronic. While it, like I said previously, it can take when you do fully charge your Kindle, it can take weeks for it to decharge, but it does go out of charge at some point. And say you're on a long flight or you're on somewhere where you don't have access to a plug-in, it can just chime out on you, and you might be at a pivotal point in the book, and all of a sudden you can't read that part because your Kindle isn't working. Yeah. And not only that, but it's also technology, and technology is expensive, which brings us to our next point. It's expensive to own a Kindle. Some of the cheapest that I found are roughly $100, but some of the more expensive ones that have a longer battery life can go upwards to $250, $300. So, not accessible to everyone who can afford that. And also another disadvantage is that while you can enhance the font size of it, it still gives your eyes a lot of strain too. And if you're staring at a screen for a very long period of time, it can cause eye strain as well too. Not only that, but studies have shown that if you start reading anything like a digital thing prior to sleeping, like your phone or a Kindle, it can also hinder your sleep as well too. You will be harder to fall asleep, harder to stay asleep, and your quality of your sleep will go down as well too. On the other hand, audiobooks offer a unique reading experience. With audiobooks, you can listen to your favorite stories while doing other tasks like driving or exercising or going for a walk, which falls under exercise, but yeah. They are perfect for multitaskers like myself and those who prefer to just be read to instead of actually doing the reading. Thinking back to kindergarten, how we used to all sit around and the teacher used to read us a book? It kind of gives that same experience. You get the character's voice inflections. Some of that imaginary work that you do is done for you in that regard. Especially if the book is being read by the author, you're getting the author's perspective of how they envisioned it. And you get that first-hand experience. Case in point, Jennifer Lewis's book, The Mother of Black Hollywood, is one of my favorite audiobooks. If you know anything about Jennifer Lewis, she is an animated soul, and she reads her book in her voice. It is hilarious. It is wonderful. It makes you want to cry. It makes you want to laugh at the same time. So in that regard, I absolutely do love a good audiobook. And yes, I know there are some people who are listening right now. Audiobooks aren't really reading. Pause. That is debatable. In fact, we have a podcast discussing that. Or audiobooks can be considered reading? My answer is yes. If you feel differently, then that's fair. You have your right to feel that way. You can comment below if you feel that way. Also, if you feel that it is reading, comment below and state how you feel about this. With Jennifer Lewis's book, that was an autobiography. But additionally, audiobooks often have professional narrators who can bring the characters to life. Case in point with Iron Flame, they actually hired on real voice actors who put you into the scene as well too. So it does a lot of the imaginary work for you, which makes it even more fun. Also, just like the Kindle, it's portable, you can carry with you wherever you go, and accessible. You can download it within seconds. In fact, I got the day that Iron Flame was released, which is last Tuesday, November 7th, I got the audiobook first downloaded, then the Kindle came, then I got my physical book. So yeah, the day of that the book is released, that was the first thing that came to me was the audiobook. So there you go. But as always, there are some cons with this. Again, you lose that touching feeling. You don't get to turn the page, which as a book reader, that's a sense that I love. And if you love it too, then yes. If you don't, then hey, audiobooks might be for you. Another con, though, it does take away a lot of the imaginary work for you. You're listening, so you're hearing how the author may have wanted it, but maybe it's taking away from how maybe you may have heard it. a lot of people, that's the fun part of reading for them. They get to imagine how the characters may sound, may look, may think in their minds. But when you listen to an audiobook, it's doing that work for you. So if you do like that, though, great. If you don't, then that's a con. And probably one of the biggest cons of this is that the price isn't always super nice. Yeah, of the three, I will definitely say the audiobook for Iron Flame was the most expensive. Yeah, I pre-ordered it though, so I did get the discount, but I'm looking at it online right now and it's upwards to $40. Keep in mind though, the reason why it is that expensive isn't, and you would think the physical book would be more expensive, but no, it's the audiobook because they're hiring on actors to play these roles. So, kind of like with cinema, it's a little more pricey. And then the last con with audiobooks is that time. Oftentimes, the way that it's being listened to, it's slower than you would actually read. I mean, you can speed up the time, but it just doesn't sound right. When I was trying to speed through some parts, where it's like, okay, come on through, let's do. It was like like a sim, you know? And it can take away from that experience too. It's like, okay, that's taking away from the reading experience because some readers are faster readers than others. Before we go on to option 3, wait, it's that time of the month. Aunt Flo is in town. Y'all know what I mean, especially the ladies of the podcast. These are all the euphemisms that we use to state that your period is on its way. I am a woman who used to suffer from extremely painful periods that kept me up at night, kept me in bed so I couldn't go to work. That was all changed when I found Cited supplements. Our bodies fluctuate from day to day, week to week, month to month. So we need natural supplements that help support these hormones. And the supplements that they offer are the Daily Hormone Balance, which provides more energy, better moods, reduced cravings. Key ingredients include grape seed extract, passion flower, B vitamin complex, magnesium, and zinc. There is also the PMS period support, which you use before your period to avoid bloating, have reduced cramping, and fewer mood swings. Key ingredients include green tea and vitamin D. There's also the urinary tract cleanse and protects your urinary system. Key ingredients are your cranberry juice extract. And then there's also the prebiotic for women for better gut health, soothes the intestines, and reduces bloating. And lastly, there's the Menopause Essentials, which helps to have fewer hot flashes, better sleep, and more stable moods. Me personally, I use the daily supplement and the PMS period supplement. And I must say, for the first time in my life since starting my period at the age of 15, both these supplements have helped reduce my pain ridiculously. I no longer get those stabbing pains anymore. So obviously I use the daily supplement on a daily basis, and then 2 to 3 days before my period is set to start, I use the PMS support to help with those uncomfortable mood swings and cravings that we all get during that time. I owe all of this wonderfulness to Cited. So for more information about it, or to order your first bottle, go to semainhealth.com. That is SEMAINE health, HEALTH.com. Use the promo code Wellness Through Reading to get 20% off your first order. Periods are normal, but the pain should not be. And Cited Health is dedicated to supporting women from period to menopause. Alright, now onwards with the show. Now let's talk about physical books. There's something magical about holding a physical book in your hand. The smell of the pages, the sound flipping through them, is an experience that Kindle and audiobooks just cannot replace. Physical books also make great decorations and can be shared with family and friends much more easily than a Kindle or an audiobook. With a physical book, you get fewer distractions because you're physically having to do more work than just looking at a page, reading it, sometimes highlighting, sometimes turning the page. So you find those moments when you can't be distracted and just read. Also, print is easier for your eye health than the Kindle or the audiobook, obviously, because you're listening. According to the Mayo Clinic, activities linked with staring at a screen cause us to blink less, and the less we blink, the drier our eyes can get. As a millennial who grew up on the technology, the increase in screen time has come about with a new diagnosis called the computer vision syndrome. And according to the American Optometric Association, CVS, computer visual syndrome, has symptoms include eye strain, blurred vision, dry eyes, also neck and shoulder pain. Because oftentimes when you're looking at a Kindle or you're listening to the audiobook, you're hunched over at times. So you gotta remind yourself to good posture is always good. As I'm saying that, I'm rolling my shoulders back too. But also, you gotta be careful though too when you're reading a physical book or if a Kindle. Make sure you're reading in good light, because that can also cause eye fatigue as well too. Reading a physical book can oftentimes give our eyes a break from that blue screen that we stare at computers all day. Not only that, but reading a physical book can also help with your sleep. Now, using digital books can oftentimes hinder our sleep cycles. Case in point, in 2014, a Harvard study did an experiment where participants were asked to either read a physical book or an e-reader of the same type of story. And what they found was that people who read the e-reader right before sleep had a harder time falling asleep, staying asleep, and their sleep cycles were disturbed, whereas people who read a physical book actually found themselves winding down a lot easier, staying asleep, and the quality of the sleep they found was much better. Also, with a physical book, as I said earlier, it just offers a more emotional connection. Multiple studies have been conducted that say that more people felt a more psychological and emotional connection to the books, because we as human beings were designed to touch, to feel, to smell, to use all of our senses. And that's what reading does. We feel the book in our hands, we turn the pages, we smell the pages, and with that, we're more drawn into it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm totally biased on this. I'm a total lover of the physical book. So, if I had to choose between the audiobook, the Kindle, or the physical book, I'm getting the physical book. Just because that's just who I am. You may be different. If you are different than me, or if you believe in physical book over the other two as well, comment in the comment sections below. Which one is your favorite? Physical, ebook, or the Kindle? But as always, as much as I do love a good physical book, there are still some cons to it as well too. You really can only carry around one book at a time unless you have like 2 big tote bags with you. So it's very limited on its portability. Number 2, the environmental impact. With the printing press does do a lot to our environment as far as deforestation, and also increases pollution and waste as well too. And also another con, over time, books do wear down. They do shred, they do prod, the binding comes undone. So, case in point, like one of my favorite book series as a kid was the Harry Potter series. And actually, as I'm going through right now, looking through my old books, those books, the binding has fallen apart, some of the pages are missing, and that's what happened with books over time. They do break down. Whereas with an audiobook or an e-Kindle, it's digital, so no breakdown necessary. Also, there is the fixed edition. So, case in point, a lot of authors now have been adding to their books. So, sometimes they'll do like a digital upload. So, if you have an audiobook or Kindle, that's fine. It's digital. But with a physical book, you have to go out and get another book if you want to get that part of the chapter as well, too. And another con, delayed gratification. Okay. So, a little story time here. After I read The Fourth Ring this summer, I was ecstatic because they just announced that Iron Flame was getting ready to come out. So I pre-ordered it on Amazon. Now, that date was November 7th, and that's what it said. It was going to be delivered to me on November 7th. Then the week before, the date changed. It went from November 7th to the 10th to the 14th. And also the Fourth Ring Holiday Edition, I had pre-ordered that as well too, like many other people. And they said it was going to be delivered on November 7th when it was supposed to come out. Then it got delayed to the 8th. And they said it would be delivered by the 8th at 10 p.m. So here I am, Wednesday, November 8th, 10 p.m. I'm sitting and I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And then I get a notification that it has been delayed. And they don't know when they're going to get it in stock. And they don't know when they're going to get it delivered. And then the next day they're like, we're going to have to cancel your order. So I'm like, you know what? This is BS because I pre-ordered both these books as you said you should have done. And they're not here. So this is what I did during my lunch break at work. I called Barnes & Noble. I said, hey, do y'all have the physical book of Fourth Wing, the holiday edition, and the Iron Flame book? And they're like, you know what? Let me look. We have the last 2 books. And I screamed, can you please put those books on hold for me? I said, absolutely. So they willingly put those books on hold. After work, I went straight over there, picked up my books. There you go. Instant. But yeah. Sometimes you go through all those loops and loops to get your books. The physical books, anyway. Whereas with an e-Kindle or an audiobook, it's instant. On November 7th, when the book dropped, I got the e-Kindle first, and then the audiobook came literally a couple minutes right after. Simple. Straight to the point. So yeah, there is a delayed gratification, but once you do get your book, it's all worth it anyway. And I'm not the only person who felt this way, so just look through my TikTok, look through my YouTube, look at my Instagram. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Wellness Through Reading, that's where I'm at. Subscribe when you get there, and you'll see that I'm not the only person who has suffered. And also, last con to owning a physical book is, where do you store them when you get them? I mean, with an audiobook and Kindle, it's all digital. It's all in the cloud. So there's no physical space for it to hold. But when you live in a limited space, it's like, where do you put all your books? I mean, I'm running out of bookcases myself, not gonna lie. But it is something cute and something just rewarding about having your own mini library at home. That kind of makes it worth it. So if you're a person who doesn't like clutter, owning a physical book might clutter up your house. But if you do like clutter, hey, go get the physical book. Honestly, I just want to say, this podcast episode is not telling you which one is better. It's just giving you all the information, and then you go form your own opinion. I've already said it. My favorite is the physical book. Always has been. Even with the cons, I still love the smell and the feel of the book. Now, case in point with Iron Flame. I was reading the Kindle first before my book arrived, before I finally went out and got my book. And I also listened to the audiobook. But there was just something about physically having that book in my hand and turning the pages that I finished that book in one sitting. Whereas with the Kindle and audiobook, I kind of had to stop, pause, go back. Wait, what did I just read? I mean, with a book, I can just highlight and all that stuff. So that's why I love it. And honestly, it's all about your preference, really. I'm just here to give you all the information. Again, I am your BFF of literature. I just want to give you all the information, my besties, so you can go out there and have your best reading book experience. There you go. The 3 pros and cons of all 3 of those different types of reading. Audiobooks, Kindles, and the physical book. Well, that was a lot. So, in conclusion, summation, summarization, moreover, to end this podcast, whether you choose Kindle, audiobooks, or physical books, the most important thing is just to keep reading and enjoy the stories that you're reading, finding those authors that you love and finding out all the books that they've read, finding the genre that you love. I mean, this past season, we've really been delving more into the fantasy genre, and I've never really been a fantasy person until I read Fourth Wing, and that's really opened my eyes and expanded my horizons. And each of these formats has its own advantages and disadvantages. So ultimately, it depends on your personal preference, lifestyle, and just your overall experience. And also just happy reading, as always. And as I just said, this past season, I've been delving more into the fantasy genre than any other genre before. And it's never really been my zhush. I mean, I always like romance. I've always been a romance reader myself. And the past few seasons, we've been doing a ton of romance. Now I'm totally into fantasy. In fact, I just recently got into Game of Thrones series, the book series. I loved the television series, but the book was kind of dry for me. But honestly, after reading this, a Fourth Wing series, and going back and reading now, it makes more sense. Fantasy is its own different genre. There is the storytelling. I just feel like the fantasy for me was always so dry because the first couple of chapters are just like countless hours of historical context and the world building, and it was just ugh. It was annoying at first, but now I love it. And something that's what it takes. It's just reading a different book to fully enjoy that experience. And the reason why I'm delving into this is because next week's episode is going to be the week of Thanksgiving. And I'll be doing a deep dive into the George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood book, which talks about the Targaryen dynasty. And I'll mainly be focusing on the Dance of the Dragons. If y'all have seen the HBO Max TV series House of Dragons, then that part in the book is what this TV series is about. And I'll be doing a deep dive of the TV series versus the book. That's going to be a good one, y'all. So stay tuned for that for next week. And as always, I like to end my podcast with a reading quote. Our reading quote of the day comes from Nicholson Baker. And it goes, "Printed books usually outlive bookstores and the publishers who brought them out. They sit around demanding nothing for decades. That's one of their nicest qualities. They are brute, persistent." And on that, I thank you for listening to another episode of Wellness Through Reading. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button so that way you're notified when new episodes are uploaded. We upload every Wednesday. Also, share this with family, friends, distant relatives, whoever. Go ahead and share this so that way we can help grow the platform and get more people reading daily as a form of self-care. Also, comment below about which one is your favorite. Do you prefer a physical book? Do you prefer a Kindle? Or do you prefer the audiobook? And let's have a discussion. And as always, I wish you good wellness and good reading. Have a good week.